Every life has a story, and every story is worth sharing. Your story, my story, and our story speak of victory and defeat, joy and sorrow, resilience and vulnerability. They are not just our story, they are Christ's story in us. They are Kingdom Stories from Down Under.
My guest tonight here at Kingdom Stories from Down Under is Chris Friend. Now, normally I do a bit of research on my guests, but tonight I purposely did not, because I wanted to get to know Chris firsthand, just as you do. So every now and then, some of my guests that I bring across are people that, I've just been acquainted with, because I want to enjoy the discovery just as much as you do. A lot of other people that we interview here, I know a bit of their background, or I do a bit of research on social media about them. But with Chris, I purposely left it out because I want to get to know him a bit deeper right here, right now with you. I've known his father. His father he drove in the car park here, at our church, looking to see who the pastor was because he had a history here. And it was such a blessing to meet him, and I'm hoping to interview him soon as well. But we start with the son tonight. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks, mate. It's great to be here with you.
So as soon as you drove in the car park, deja vu, you've got a history here.
It is deja vu.
You've got beautiful parents, both mom and dad. I've met them only briefly, but they invited me in their home. That's very risky business at their age.
Well, you are a pastor, so it should be fine.
Well, a lot of people don't want pastors in their home. So you grew up around this place. How old were you when your parents came to this church, or they established the ministry here?
They planted a church and Bible college in Balcatta, so not far from here at all. And I think about 2 years into that story, purchased the property here in Nollamurra, and that's nearly 40 years ago, so it's nearly 4 decades. And I would have been a young teenager at that particular point in time.
You mean you're over 40?
I am over 40.
Only just.
I'm over 50, my friend.
Yeah, I'm coming close to you as well, catching up.
But there's two parts to the story, because
Is there?
my wife's grandparents lived in Nollamurra,
Yes.
and they helped build the building. So it was on that side first, and then my family side second.
Did you know about that, or you found out later?
When I started dating her, the sort of story came out, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
the Presbyterian part on her side, and then the Pentecostal part on my side. So
How did you manage to keep it all together?
good question.
She's still Presbyterian.
Yeah. Oh no, I dragged her over to the Pentecostal side, well and truly. Poor thing, or blessed thing.
You
Take
sound
your
more
pick.
Presbyterian, actually.
No.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So you were born in Perth?
Born in Northam.
Northam, okay. That's
Yes.
just east of Perth?
Yes.
Not far?
Only about an hour, give or take.
Almost a suburb of Perth.
Nearly. Nearly.
The development is going that way. Great Eastern Highway is expanding. It's going to be a fast through there. Interesting things happening on that corridor. And how old were you when you moved to Perth from Northam?
We actually moved east first. So Northam, Whyalla, Adelaide, Townsville, so North Queensland. Back here again when I was starting high school.
Do you remember anything from Northam?
Not really. No, not from that era.
So you would have been 2 or 3 when you left?
About 2, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Whyalla?
Whyalla, I was a youngster, so just before starting school, but started school in Adelaide. So Adelaide was the formative period,
Okay.
and then Townsville, North Queensland, then here. Yeah.
What do you remember of Adelaide?
My baby brother was born there.
Okay.
I'm the big brother, he's the kid brother. You know how that goes.
No one in between? Just 2 brothers?
Just the 2 of us, yeah, 5 years apart. So
Okay.
bit of a gap there.
And you school in Adelaide?
Schooled in Adelaide for the first 3 years.
Remember a little bit of?
Lots of things. We had a primary school teacher for 2 years there, and we learned from the class before us that we'd start each day saying, "Good morning, Mrs. Fox," in a box, in a letterbox, eating Cocoa Pops. We'd end the day saying, "Good afternoon, Mrs. Fox," in a box, in a letterbox, eating Cocoa Pops. We did that for 2 whole years.
What's her name,
Mrs. Fox.
So she created a poem, a joke.
The kids in the classroom did, and it got handed down from class to class to class. So
And she gladly accepted it.
she accepted it quite happily.
Wonderful.
She was good. Yeah.
You have to roll your tongue a little bit to learn that.
Oh, absolutely.
Sort of those seashores on the seashore, you know.
Exactly.
Seashells.
No, that's right. That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so your parents moved from Northam to Adelaide because of ministry?
Yeah. Wayala in between. But
Okay.
yeah, they were pastoring. That's right.
So Dad initially was pastoring here before he left in Northam.
Yeah, he planted a church in Northam. Yeah.
From Perth, he went to Northam
That's right. Yeah.
to plant a church. What was it? An evangelical church, an Assemblies of God church?
Yeah. Assemblies of God, Pentecostal. Yeah.
Okay. So he's a pioneer.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
That's the family. We're all pioneers.
And in Wayala again, he started something, or he was running?
No, he was appointed the pastor of an existing church in Wayala,
Mhm.
and then the same in Adelaide.
And then to Townsville.
Yes, then to Townsville.
Wow.
Mm.
Right. What a journey.
Mm.
And then from Townsville, how long were you guys in Townsville?
4 years. Yeah. He started a Bible college in Townsville, which still runs today. That was what he did up there. There's a reason he went there. The church asked him to come and start the college there. And
so
then,
he had experience of establishing Bible colleges?
yeah, he was involved in starting one in Adelaide before that. So there was a history already
Okay.
for him. Mm.
So he started a Bible college in Townsville?
Yes.
Wow. Do you remember much of that church?
I do. There'd be a few names around town that you would know. I won't say them now. We can talk about it afterwards. But a few names around town that came through. Townsville was the end of the hippie trail.
Yes.
So hippies would head up in the 70s and land up there. There was a revival taking place in North Queensland, a charismatic renewal taking place. And they would walk in and dramatically encounter the Lord Jesus Christ and turn their lives around. Before they knew it, they were in Bible college getting trained, and then they were being sent out into missions or church planting. So it was a heady period indeed.
Wow.
Wild period.
That's amazing.
People were living together, not married. A month later, there'd be a wedding.
Yeah.
The church would all bring food to share. A big celebration taking place. Lives being transformed by Jesus. It was remarkable. Yeah, beautiful time.
And were you more let's say in the stand, or were you in the game? With your parents and stuff.
Yeah, still in primary school, so still young enough to not really be involved, if that makes sense.
Were you learning? Were you playing any instruments? Were you growing into?
Not yet. That'll happen here.
Okay.
But I will tell you a couple of things. A friend of mine at 8 had come to school one day and said, "Did your father tell you what happened last night?" I said, "No, we'd stayed home because my brother was still young."
Yes.
Dad had gone to church without us. And it turns out my friend was spirit-filled and spoke in tongues and
at the age of
8 and came to school the next day and told me. And I was horrified because this is not fair. Why can't I have this? And
so you were familiar with the...
Oh, yeah. Within that month, I was water baptized, spirit-filled, speaking in tongues. Yeah, it was...
Everything.
Just
the desire.
The whole thing, that's right.
Wow.
The whole thing. Then walking into church in Townsville, you'd walk into the foyer and you'd walk past someone who was demon-possessed, manifesting in the foyer.
Yeah.
And when I say people were casting demons out, not pastors, not deacons, not elders,
no,
just normal, regular Christians casting demons out in the foyer. And being an 8, 9, 10-year-old thinking this is normal, this is church.
Yeah.
Demons are cast out when church starts.
That's right.
That was very normal.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
That's beautiful. Those experiences, they can't be manufactured.
That's right. They're formative.
Yeah. They change everything. And then your parents were relocated to WA, to Perth.
That's it.
And they were they came here at the Assemblies of God as pastors here.
That's right, yes. Yeah. Pioneered a church and a Bible college here in
El
Perth.
Shaddai.
That's right.
Right here.
That's right.
When your dad first came in the car park, they just stopped here with your mum, and I went to greet them, and they said, "What is this?" He said, "What sort of church is this?" I said, "It's a Christian church." Or, I didn't know, but he's a clever man, the way he puts it. And then he said, "Does the name John Friend say anything to you?" I said, "Yeah, I've heard that he was one of the founders of this church." And they both started weeping, and I realized it was them.
Mm.
And then I opened the church. They wanted to go inside to see the church. And I opened the church, and obviously there's been extensions, and the church got enlarged. And then he told me that, they established the Bible college. And then I took him in the library and I showed them our Bible college, because we have the Australian School of Ministry here. And that's what really, really touched him. Because he knew that, El Shaddai has I think it changed into table later on, or
No, harvest.
Or harvest, and then it was kind of swallowed up by the big harvest, and it's
and then swallowed up again by bigger fish again.
Yeah, as things do happen.
That's right.
But and you could sense that he had a heart for training people. And when he heard that there is a Bible college being run here, and then when he saw the library, he was just really, really touched. What a beautiful man. You've got amazing parents. They donated a number of books.
Yeah.
And the collection that he has about the Pentecostal movement in Australia, especially Western Australia, and all his magazines, he just gladly gave them to us to have here.
It's beautiful.
And we are just so privileged to have them in our catalogs here. And what a heritage. What a heritage. And, it was godly for them to come here in that time. And I went to visit them in Madley just before they left their home and moved into the retirement place. And it was just beautiful, really beautiful. So
praise God.
You've got amazing heritage. Right? So they labored hard here to establish El Shaddai from scratch.
Yes. Yeah.
What a pioneering work from your dad. Because it was accredited, wasn't it? It was...
No, back then...
Oh, there was a need.
No, nothing existed, if that makes
so
sense.
the churches would just recognize people who are equipped.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then students, of course, who felt called to study would live by faith. They'd trust God for finances. They'd work part-time.
Yeah.
Pull themselves through.
Well, there wasn't a lot of paid ministers around. Probably more in the established churches, but not so much in the
Pentecostal world.
No. You worked and you earned your money, and you also served, just like we do today.
That's right.
Moving back to Perth, was it easy for you as a young child?
Moving multiple times wasn't easy. I'll admit that now, growing up. Losing friendships was tough.
Yeah.
And of course, Townsville to Perth it's the whole continent. So
it's the whole span.
It took 4 days to drive here. It wasn't a quick move.
No.
Yeah.
And so what school did you go to?
Initially a small Christian school called Nollamara Christian Academy.
There was such a school?
Right here in Nollamara.
Not at the...
No, not here. Down the road.
Okay.
Yeah, down the road. Corner of Hillsborough.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
So there was a little primary Christian school?
Primary to secondary, 70 students in total, 70.
Yeah.
So pretty small. And there was a bunch of us Pentecostals in the group. And the school was anti-Pentecostal, which was hilarious because we were there. And then at some point, it just became untenuous for us to remain. So we all transitioned to Balga Senior High School. So
Balga.
Still local.
And you lived in Nollamara or Westminster now, or?
No, Marangaroo.
Marangaroo. Okay, so that was a newer sort of suburb.
Brand new. It
was across Beach Road, across Marangaroo Drive.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your parents ministered here. This was full time for you. Your dad was.
For them, it was, yes.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Okay. And how was your development in your youthful years? Did you keep your faith going, or you had a chapter where you went off the rails?
When I was 14, there was a prophetic word over my life.
Yeah.
Two, actually. One was Fred Anderson, if you know that name.
I know the name.
Yeah.
I don't know him.
So one of the Pentecostal pioneers of the city, one of the fathers of the city, who saw a Baptist church come into charismatic renewal and become the Hillside Church now, Forestfield Church back then. And he gave me a prophetic word at 14, and real call of God in my life, and I felt that at that point. Another word in a similar time frame as well, that then became formative. I had them written out in the Bible, for instance, and I'd pull them out and read them and put them back in again and kept them there for years. There was a tough period at 16, 17 where I wrestled with, do I finish school and go straight to Bible college? Do I get a career? What do I do? I ended up changing churches in that time frame. There was a lack of young people here.
Yeah.
in the church. Later on, I came back and started a youth group here. So that had a full circle
So where did you
of its
go?
own kind. Girraween.
Oh, live.
Yeah. And it was packed. It was 100 teenagers, and it was quite amazing. So that was important for us.
Oh,
No, long before John Warwick. Keith Ainge.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
Keith Ainge back then. And that was a beautiful time. Saw God move in amazing ways. Yeah, amazing ways.
Because they were charismatic as well, Pentecostals, weren't they?
Yeah, Assemblies of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So young people would go to the local Red Rooster or fish and chip shop and meet somebody who was intoxicated, lead them to Christ, bring them back to church. Yeah, that was normal.
Yeah.
Again, I could name your names. I'll tell you after we finish recording.
Nice. There's a lot to do after we finish recording.
There are a few things.
You finished high school?
Finished high school. And
kept away from booze, girls, and gambling and drugs?
All that. Tobacco and chewing gum and all those things.
Oh, you didn't keep away from them?
No, I did.
You did? Even chewing gum?
Even chewing gum. Oh, dear. No, the Lord was good. I ended up landing in a job in the corporate insurance world.
Yes.
So I was an insurance broker for a number of years. But that was the daytime job. And, of course, then on the weekends and at night times, we're involved in church. Yeah.
Supporting mum, dad, everybody.
All those things.
Yeah.
I ended up back here at the church after 4 years and back from Girraween to here at Nollamurra, and said to God, okay, this lack of teenagers is a problem. We need to fix this. I said to the Lord, if you give me 6 teenagers, 6 14-year-olds, I'll start a youth group.
Yeah. And
he gave me 6. He gave me 5 boys and 1 girl. I still feel sorry for that 1 girl. I should have said to God.
So you married her?
No. We were married by then, my wife and I. But we had a girl and this 5 boys, and that grew over about 5 years to 70 teenagers. We baptized dozens, led them to Christ, discipled them.
Who brought them in? How did they come in?
The Lord was good. I would never consider myself to be an evangelist, but he brought a couple of key evangelists into the team. Okay. And they were phenomenal, just amazing people, called by God. One in particular, in the daytime, was as shy. And in normal conversation, you could barely look in the eye. He was just so shy. But the anointing on him, he'd have a call of God to lead someone to Christ.
Yes. And
he would just follow that call till they were born again. Wow. And some weekends he would bring 3 new people to church on a weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, 1 to youth group, 1 to Sunday morning, 1 to Sunday night.
That's
3
amazing.
New ones a weekend. It was phenomenal. And I'd say to him, mate, you bring them in, the team will take care of them. We'll take care of the rest.
Wow.
And we did,
Man, to have someone like that in the trenches is just beautiful. And where did you meet your wife? At Girraween?
No. She was an evangelical. So she was not a Pentecostal. And Sunshine FM back then would do these competitions, talent quests, singing competitions. So solos, duets, and bands. Yes. I was in a band at the time.
Playing?
Yeah, playing keys.
Okay.
And my band very nearly entered the competition. You could win a recording contract.
Nice.
And at the last minute, we withdrew. We didn't feel we were ready for it, so we didn't participate in that particular year. But I felt to go down and just check out the talent. So I did. And she sang a solo. I saw her. I thought to myself, she can't be Pentecostal, because if she was, I'd know. The Pentecostal church world back then was much smaller. Yeah.
And you were everywhere.
And I was everywhere. And she left. I saw her leave in her car. I took notice of which car she drove. And
what was it?
A red Chrysler Sigma.
There you go.
Anyway, she drove off. And about 2 weeks later, there was a place called The Duke. And The Duke was a place where Christian bands would go and play. And it was typically youth groups. Once the youth group had finished, the program had finished, the older teenagers, young adults would come to this place and enjoy Christian music and meet Christian people.
Yeah.
And so it was cross-denominational. She was on the committee that ran the particular event. I was in a band. My band would play at The Duke. And then through a mutual friend met her and said, I heard you sing 2 weeks ago. You've got a beautiful voice. And the rest is history.
Not really.
Not really.
There's a lot more to it. Did you tell your mum and dad that you found somebody? How close were you to them?
In fact, that's interesting, because within a week or so, my mum got really sick, critically sick actually. And so I was in that formative period of getting to know Natalie, my wife, getting to know Natalie, that My mum was rushed to hospital. She nearly died. It was quite a traumatic event. And that was one of the conversations between her and I, getting to know each other. How's your mum?
Yeah.
What's taking place? Yeah. The Lord did a miracle there. The Lord pulled her through.
Mm-hmm.
She lived, as you know. You've met her. But there was a crisis in that particular point. That it's interesting how the Lord uses these crises to do things.
How old were you?
Just about to turn 19.
And she was?
Same.
Okay.
19, yeah.
Beautiful. And how long after that did you get married?
We got married at 21.
Okay, so a couple of years later. How did you propose?
I really didn't propose.
She proposed?
Neither.
You just said, we're doing this.
I just said, either this is a thing and we're serious or we're not.
Yeah.
And she said, yes, we are. I said, great. And we got married.
Oh, wonderful.
Which is not very romantic.
Oh, it is, but it's decisive.
Yes, yeah.
And I think girls appreciate that.
Mm.
You know, a man who can make a decision and, you know, commit to something like that. It's beautiful. Where did you get married?
Girraween, Assembly of God.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she came across? She
came across. That was a bit of a turmoil right there.
Where was she going to?
Well, before that, she was going to Warwick Church of Christ.
Okay.
And
so she lived in the area?
Yeah, they lived in Wanneroo.
And the parents were believers as well?
Yeah, strong believers. Very strong believers. Yeah,
so
very strong
it wasn't
believers.
hard for them to give her away to you?
Well, the tongues bit was the hard bit because her parents were kind of on the anti-Pentecostal spectrum at that particular point.
So why were you praying in tongues with them at the dinner table?
Well, it took about 12 months for Natalie to talk through those issues and have a shift of heart and whatnot. And
was she filled with the Spirit?
Yeah. It was after 12 months.
Wow.
After a year. Yeah, we had this dinner party with friends of ours, and she kept saying to me, if God wants me to have it, he'll give it to me.
Yeah.
But
I won't ask for it.
That's right. And I kept saying, that's not kingdom. Kingdom is faith. Yeah. Without faith, you cannot please God.
Yeah.
You have to have faith. You have to believe. Earnestly desire spiritual gifts. 1 Corinthians 14. So we'd have these conversations round in circles. This particular dinner party really felt the Lord in our conversation with some friends of ours, some dear friends of ours. And I just said, I think we should be praying and asking God for more of His presence in our lives. And we prayed for a few hours, and which is really sweet. Prayed with Natalie again for the baptism of the Holy Spirit. She came quite close. And then I felt God give me a word of knowledge for her, and a prophetic word, take your pick. I said, tomorrow morning, I don't know who the guest preacher will be at church, but there'll be a preacher there. If there's an altar call, respond. If there's not an altar call, just go and ask. I said, would you pray with me? And I believe as he lays hands on you, the breakthrough will come. It's right there. It's a tipping point.
Yeah.
And, bear in mind, I'm 20 years of age. I'm still naive and wet behind the ears, but, you just fly by faith. You just believe in these things. And she did. I was with her when she went forward. And the moment he laid his hands on her head, she spoke in tongues. It was immediate.
Wow.
There was a breakthrough there. Yeah, quite beautiful.
She would have been thrilled.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because everything now was real.
That's right.
It wasn't a story. It wasn't doubt. It wasn't some do's, some don'ts. The taboo was gone.
That's right. And bear in mind, she's a worshipper. She loves the Lord. So the Spirit, that's right. The Spirit lifts you higher again than you've ever known before. That's right.
And then when she shared that with her parents?
By that point, there was an openness there, praise God.
They were warmed up to it.
Well, they'd got to know me by then. And her father said to her, look, it's not for me. I don't want the tongues thing.
Yeah.
He said, but it's okay for you. That's fine. You can have it. The irony is her parents now are in our church.
And they're full of the Spirit.
They're so used by God. It's amazing. A tremendous couple. So three odd decades later, and
that's beautiful.
They're with us. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Children?
2. The oldest is 28, a girl, and the youngest is 24, a boy.
Beautiful names?
Emily and Caleb.
Caleb, beautiful. Your grandpa, is Emily married?
No, they're both single.
Okay.
We're waiting still, eagerly looking forward to the day.
Yeah, wonderful. Are they in the Lord?
Yeah, they're both going through their own journeys in their own ways. Our daughter's been sick for a few years and struggling with some illness issues. And so that's caused a bit of heartache for her and for us. Our son is a uni student, so he's studying hard. His last semester this semester. He leads worship at church and quite involved.
What does he do?
He has a commercial window cleaning business on the side.
Yes.
And is a full-time student. So
at uni. What
psychology.
Psychology. That's great. I love psychology.
Mm.
It's good as a minister, if you can study psychology, a bit of philosophy and theology, you've got the humanity worked out.
That's it.
That's good.
Yeah, that would come from me. I've got an interest in psychology as well,
Yeah.
so that'd be there.
That's nice. So you ministered with your parents here for a while in that youth minister capacity.
Mm.
What else did you do?
Worship and youth were the two main things.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, my first appointment was as assistant pastor. By that point, Dad had moved on from this church.
Yep.
Another pastor had come in.
Who was then here?
Steve King.
Okay. Yep.
Mm.
I've heard the name. I haven't met him.
Yeah.
And so you worked with him here?
That's right.
So you came on staff by then?
No, I went through Bible college. So that was the work part-time, earn your money, trust God.
Pay for Bible college as well?
Pay for college yourself.
You studied at El Shaddai? Or was it Harvest?
No, by that point it was Harvest. Yeah.
So Harvest, was it the brand from South Australia or was it a WA Harvest?
No, actually Victoria was head office for Harvest.
Okay.
And it's rather confusing in the backstory of Assemblies of God and how those things worked. But they had a college here in Perth that was at one point Southern Cross.
Yep.
And El Shaddai joined that. They changed curriculum to Harvest, which was Victoria.
Yep.
And then at some point Harvest joined Alpha Crucis, which was originally called Southern Cross. So it's
I did my master's.
It's a very confusing circle, yeah.
But the actual degree came from Sydney University back then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, small world. Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
So now Harvest is part of Alpha Crucis now.
Now it is.
Alpha Crucis.
Now it is.
Yeah. And is Table still around? They're at Hillside, aren't
They're
they?
still here, but I think more focused on counselling than anything.
Okay.
Truth be told.
Yeah. Interesting. And so how long was this chapter here as the assistant pastor at ALG here?
How long was I the assistant pastor?
Yeah.
Oh, good question. 4 years, I think.
And
something
then
like that.
What chapter of life did you move into?
I had always said to a friend of mine I would never plant a church. And guess what I did next?
You planted
a church.
Where was that?
In Balladura.
And that was called?
Initially, Balladura Community Church.
BCC.
Yeah.
Like the school.
Yeah, like the school.
And did you meet at the community centre, did you?
We did, yeah. There's a number of community centres over there. There was one that had been built in South Balladura, close to where we lived, actually. And I would drive past it thinking somebody should plant a church there. And I guess at some point God heard my somebody and said, you're the somebody. Yeah.
So where was it? Where did you guys meet?
South Balladura Community Centre.
Which is on? Which drive?
It's on Hamlin, corner of Hamlin and Bellafin.
Okay.
On that Glenview side.
My first block of land was on Guadalupe Drive.
Was it really?
Yeah, so I lived there.
Oh, there you go.
In the late 90s.
Yeah.
For about 4 years.
Well, we lived on Geralia.
Oh, there you go.
Geralia Parkway, yeah.
We've never met.
Funny that.
Yeah, and I was running music lessons at East Balladura Primary School, or it was a South
Balladura, yeah.
Yeah, just around the corner.
Were you?
Yeah.
What do you play?
I don't play much. I just teach. But I can play both brass and strings.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I only blow the shofar nowadays. But yeah. Wow. Small world. Small world. And how did that go?
It was amazing. Yeah, and that was amazing. The first 12 months were hard work.
Yeah.
We had a small nucleus that loved the Lord and loved us, and we loved them.
And you were still working at the time.
Yes.
What were you doing? Still in insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
I was. And then after about 12 months, one of the guys said, we need to see souls saved. What's going on here? And one of the guys, team members, another guy said, look, it's a foundation we're pouring first. Just have patience, and God's timing, these things will happen. And then somewhere about there, the next 12 months, we saw mostly young people, but one person saved a week for a year. It was phenomenal.
Wow.
Amazing move of God.
Mm.
Just some of the youngsters coming in. One of these young fellas was a handful, shall we say.
Yeah.
And his mum came to church one week. And so I had to come and see what happened because my boy is no longer the trouble he was before. You've transformed him. I had to meet you guys and see who you are that did this to him.
And she stayed?
She stayed, yeah. She came to
Praise
church
God.
and joined. It was amazing.
Wow.
I had the assistant principal at Ballajura Community College meet me. I met him. And he said, "You're so-and-so?" I said, "Yes." "From this church?" I said, "Yes." "Do you know this name?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you know that family are all drug dealers?" I said, "Yes." "I'm aware." He said, "It's the third worst family in Ballajura." I said, "Yes, I know." He said, "Seriously?" He said, I don't want the church thing. If you keep fixing kids like him,
You're doing
helping kids like him, you've got my support."
Wow.
Yeah, it was
And
remarkable.
Did you get in the school? Were you able to get in the school?
We did. Yeah, we used the Performing Arts Centre.
Okay.
By the time I was there, the last 3 years, we were using Performing Arts Centre. And
That was the church?
yeah, for Sundays, yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was good.
And from then?
We felt called to plant a church in Mount Lawley. So 15 years ago now.
So what did you do with the one in Ballajura? You passed it on to somebody
Handed
else?
over to our assistant pastor. Yeah,
Okay.
moved on.
And they're still there?
No, things have changed for that church. That's another long story. And I'd long gone by then.
Okay. So you didn't have any oversight or anything? You totally passed it?
Passed it over.
Yeah.
Felt to pioneer at the university campus. And
At ECU?
At ECU.
Mm-hmm.
Had no idea in the transition of things that the Churchlands campus would close.
Yeah.
They'd moved programs from Churchlands to Mount Lawley and to Joondalup.
Yeah.
And that then suddenly meant that international students were at Mount Lawley.
Okay.
Mount Lawley was originally a teachers' college
Yeah.
and Whopper.
Yeah.
So that usually meant Aussie students, not internationals. And suddenly we had a multicultural church.
Wow.
And Ballajura was not multicultural. It was very Caucasian, very vanilla.
Yeah.
Mount Lawley became very much a beautiful colour, beautiful spectrum, and helping students and migrant families, single mums.
So you established a church within the university?
Yeah.
You know, both Raluca, my wife, and I graduated from ECU in Churchlands.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So my wife did nursing and I did a Bachelor of Business there.
Ah.
We both graduated, and when they developed the land there, we bought
Did you buy there?
in the first auction, and we still live there now.
Well done.
And so we're literally on the campus where we both study, so we're still there now. And a few years later, we pastored Churchlands Christian Fellowship.
Yeah.
So
Which started there.
yeah, so everything
Yeah.
is interconnected.
Full circles. Wow, that's
So
amazing.
you're at Mount Lawley, and you took another big step into establishing something with students.
Planting again, that's right.
Is there student housing at Mount Lawley or not?
There is.
There is.
Yeah.
So that was helpful.
Very, very helpful. You can imagine what happens. Students meet students, they get
Yeah,
married,
married,
they have children, they have families.
And you
The
met
church
in one of the
develops.
lecture theatres.
We
eh?
did, yes.
Mhm.
That's right. Yeah, that's been 15 years now. Now the church, of course, is everything from young to old.
And you're
everything
still
in
there?
between. Still there.
At ECU?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or slightly adjacent to it. The high school is taking over the campus of ECU as ECU relocates into the city to Northbridge.
Okay.
There's a transition plan taking
Are
place.
they building a new high-rise?
Yeah, that's right.
Just on the Horseshoe Bridge.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, correct. I should tell you one thing. I'd planned to plant and hand over. I had
Yes.
an assistant with me. I wasn't planning to remain.
Yeah.
And barely 12 months into the new church, and I felt, if you know the John Howard story and Peter Costello, I felt like a John Howard. I felt like I'm going to make promises to hand over but never hand over.
Yeah.
It was the strangest of feelings. And I was criticising myself, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
critiquing my own ethics and morals. And I didn't know what to do about this. So finally met with a church consultant in the US, and we meant to have lunch with our wives, and our wives found it something better to do, so they ran off without us and
Smart
said, you
women.
blokes can talk boring church stuff, we're going to go whatever
Shopping.
it was, shopping or something. And so off they went. And I turned to him and said, I've got a story to tell.
In here? Was he visiting here or you were in there?
I was in the US
Yeah.
for a conference, yeah.
So I'm sure your wife wanted to go shopping. All the outlets.
Get away from me. And so we talked about this topic, and I said, look, I feel like I'm not going to hand over to this pastor. I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing by him. And he was very wise. He said to me, look, just press pause on the ethics. What would it mean if you didn't hand over? Let's explore that conversation.
Yeah.
What would happen to the church? I said, well, the church would have to change its framework. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, right now it's very much focused on uni students. We need to become broader. It's focused on really being one local church. This would need to become more of an Antioch, more of a site that sends out and out of a place where things are launched. You have to reflect the call of God on my life. And he said, well, what if you start praying into that? So I came back to Perth, and long story short, in the economy of God, that was what was going to happen. I had no idea. That couple moved on for various reasons, and I found myself in this church long term. I was quite surprised. Very surprised.
How many people have you released?
I've lost track.
Dozens.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But out of that has come church planting. Out of it has come missions.
Yeah.
A disability service.
Yeah.
Community services. All kinds of things have come from.
And you're involved in that as well. You're part of a is it a disability service?
Yeah. If I can backstory.
Yeah.
We started doing housing for homeless people.
Okay.
We started doing, and people coming literally from the streets.
Yep.
From Teen Challenge or Shalom.
Yep.
Coming out of prison, or in some cases even domestic violence, some kind of reason why they needed to find housing. We ended up with, I think, 5 houses in total towards the end. We transitioned that across into a single site at one point, a former hospital.
Yep.
At one point. And somewhere there, someone said to us as a team, you should apply for NDIS. And the question was asked of me, do we apply? I said, why not? We're already doing the work anyway. Yeah. And if we don't get it, it doesn't change the fact we'll keep on doing what we should be doing. So sure, we applied. One of my team members said to me, Chris, there's a prophecy about this. I said, no, there's not. And you know what? There was. There was. It was quite remarkable. We did get approved. And now in 3 years, we've got more than 70 staff in that program and affiliated programs, into counselling services, into positive behaviour supports, into recovery college stuff, all kinds of things around that space. And
what is it called?
Remarkable. Collective Hope Community Services. The church is now called Collective Hope too.
That just makes sense.
It just works.
You've got a cohort here, don't you?
Yeah, we've got 3 houses in Nullamurra. That's right. Yeah.
Because Jody helps out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Jody got established her in our church for the time being, and she's been amazing.
An amazing woman of God. Yeah.
Very powerful prophetic voice in the Indigenous community. So yeah, wow. collective hope. Yeah. There
we go. Beautiful. Which works with multiple churches, multiple services, all working together.
Yeah.
And hope being the gospel, of course. So
wonderful.
Made sense.
So what services do you provide again?
Disability services, people on NDS. We do some ancillary housing solutions. We don't advertise ourselves as a housing provider, but we are still providing housing where we can.
Transition.
Exactly. In some cases.
Room by room or bed by bed.
Or house by house.
Or house by house.
Depends on the circumstances. Yeah. Usually to stop someone from landing on homelessness, usually that way around, rather than pulling out of homelessness.
Too late.
Truth be told. Yeah. We would normally use another transitional service in the coming out of homelessness before they come to us. There's a process there. Counselling services, recovery college, helping people with training around living with complex behaviours, ADHD or depression, how to get ready for employment.
So you had this organisation as well as the church?
Yeah.
Wow. There's a few hours left in the day, isn't there?
There is.
Not many.
Not many. But we have an amazing team.
Yeah.
Phenomenal team.
Yeah. So did you recruit them? You handpicked this?
Yeah, we managed to get some industry leaders to come and work for us. God was involved in that. That's key.
Yeah.
You employed the best people and it takes care of itself.
And is your wife also involved in that?
No, she's not. No, she works for a large Christian school here in the state. She's
as a teacher or in admin?
Executive assistant to the principal.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a demanding role.
Of course.
200 staff, 1,500 students. She's a demanding role.
That's a massive school.
Mm.
Wow.
Mm.
Well, in a way, it's good because it keeps you enough apart to want to be together. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
In a healthy way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can get to you. It's all consuming because both of your roles would be all consuming. So if you were on the other side of, if she was here, you take all that with you, all that baggage, always
Home.
process it.
That's right.
To late. Whereas this way, each one can sort of let go. And I think that's great because, the worlds collide, but in a nice way.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
She used to work for a key car dealership here in Perth. When we were dating, when we first got married, I worked for a broking firm and we would drive together to work and I'd pick her up and drop her off. And it was like that. You're driving home talking about the things in the day and how God's used your conversations, how God has directed you. And it's not that different these days. It's the same.
What's the biggest challenge you faced in Collective Hope? In the church more.
Good question. Good question. There's a lot of conversations about leadership dynamics and how the only way to grow a church or ministry is through change, and that not every human being is ready to handle change.
Yeah.
And one of a leader's primary jobs is to empower people, prepare people, and assist people in change.
Yeah.
And I would say that's been one of the most difficult parts, without a doubt. Lots of more qualified people than me have talked about that. That's been a reality, very real reality.
Is it the slow development of change or the conversion of change in the minds of the leaders?
It's interesting. I would say it would be the fact...
So is it the pace or the shift?
Good question. I think it's more the fact that change happens in the area you don't expect it. So you want change here, but God brings change here.
Yeah.
Here you're prepared for, here you're not.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Here you're forewarned, here you're not forewarned. And so suddenly change...
To adapt.
You've got to adapt. That's right. Yeah, that's right. So some people have adapted well and some haven't.
You see, let's say with the arm of the business, let's call it the business, because at the end of the day, it is a ministry, but it is a business. You don't have the luxury they have in church. If a change occurs, you've got to make it within days. Sometimes you don't even have a month. If there's a change in policy, and everybody has to run with it. So they have no choice. But in church, the pace can be
much slower.
Snail pace, and that can be very frustrating for a leader, a dynamic leader, who sees on one side people just running with it, and then on the other side you think, God, I didn't sign up for this. This is torture. Can I just leave them behind? But you can't.
I think Moses may have prayed a prayer along those lines at some point. Anyway, I think definitely there's been a case of
why the starter?
And even the change has happened. In some areas change is fast. We didn't see it coming. Some other areas we wanted change to happen and change hasn't come and it's slow. And it's even our wrestling with God and His ways and His timing and Him knowing better than us and us struggling with Him.
With the church, how do you handle betrayal? How do you handle people that walk away on you, especially leaders in whom you trusted for the next chapter, for example? I'm sure you would have come across it. It happens to all of us.
Yeah, that's right. We had a number of stories over the years that have been particularly painful, particularly difficult to handle. I would argue particularly spiritual. In one case, we're going through...
Some leaders don't recover from this, you realise.
That's right. In one case, it was middle of the night, a number of years ago now. It was about 1:15, 1:30 a.m. I heard a bell ring in our bedroom. There's no bell in our bedroom, trust me. But like a dinner bell, old-fashioned one. This bell rang and I jumped out of bed. I stood to attention. It's the funniest position to be in. I'm standing to attention and I'm thinking, what am I doing? My wife said to me, what was that? I said, did you hear that? She said, yes. I said, what did you hear? She said, a bell. I said, okay. So did I. She said, what was it? I've got no idea. So I went looking for this bell. Couldn't find anything. I walked out the front, walked back inside the bedroom again. Finally hopped back into bed and she said to me, "What is it?" I said, "I think it's God telling us to pray. Something's happening.
Yeah.
He's calling us to attention.
Yeah.
We need to be listening and serve." And we prayed, and sure enough, a leader who was going through burnout at the time suddenly started texting us and all kinds
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, abusive language, abusive things. In the end, she literally got on the telephone and rang and talked for about 3 hours to try and talk that leader down, if that makes sense, de-escalate what they were going through.
And to avert any collateral damage.
That's right. I'm messaging Europe and United States, anywhere that's awake.
Pray.
Pray with me right now. There's a disaster taking place, and we've walked through those seasons. We've seen those things, and you don't last in ministry for decades without having gone through these kinds of
Do you
seasons.
heal well?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Because forgiving, I assume you do it regardless, because you've got no choice.
You have to.
So the other question is, how well do you heal?
Good question.
So the question, why am I putting this question, Chris, is do you heal well enough to trust others, or do you heal to such a degree where there's a shield of protection?
Good question. One of the strange things in the story I'm referring to now is that within 12 months of that event, I had a heart attack.
Oh.
And that in itself, there's a story around that, for instance.
Of course.
But that, of course, caused me to think through the way I handled stress, the way I handle pressure, all those kinds of things. Obviously, I'm medicated, post-heart attack, I'm medicated. There's side effects to those medications, one of which would be to try and keep my blood pressure down and keep me calm. But even I, before the Lord, have to say, some things I can't control. Some things I can't even manage. It's in your hands. It really is.
Yeah.
This is either it's all yours or it's not. I have to trust you with it. And so that's a strange dynamic in the mix, in that now more than ever, I'm having to just trust God and trust the people He's put with us, and how it goes is how it goes.
When you delegate, to what level do you check and trust, and to what level do you have to micromanage?
I would avoid micromanagement as much as I could. I don't have the time to micromanage anybody. But I think good accountability comes with good stewardship. If you're a paid employee, on a church staff, there's accountability around that. If you're a committed team member on a team, there's accountability around that with stewardship. So accountability does not equal micromanagement. Those two things are different.
So you put systems in place for accountability?
We're always putting systems in place. Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. And the onus is on the leader to come up to that level?
Of course, yeah.
And if they don't pull their weight?
God has ways and means.
It's interesting, because it's a tough dynamic. It's a tough dynamic, and leadership is a massive mantle.
That's right. And including in the mix, you love your people.
Of course.
You love your leaders.
Well, that's why I said that you can't negotiate forgiveness and loving them.
No, that's right.
It's just, to what level can you pass on? What's next for you, Chris?
What's next for me?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great question. That's a really good question. There's a number of things. We're currently moving our church to a brand new building. So that's happening in the next month or so. That's all on the go.
Moving from Mount Lolly into
Morley.
Okay.
We've signed a lease on a building in Morley. We're going through change of use with the Shire right now, and then
Is that an industrial area of Morley, or
it is
residential?
Right by the Galleria.
Okay.
So that
one of those
commercial
factories.
retail kind of spaces. Yeah. We've moved the offices already. That's already taken place on the same site.
Yep.
And moving the church as the secondary component to that. We'll move into that with our recovery college programs and our training programs, which we use with outreach.
So where was Collective Hope? Where was the office and everything before?
We were spread out in multiple locations.
Okay, because that would have created a bit of
work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We had church on Sundays in Mount Lawley. We had office just off Newcastle Street in Perth.
Okay.
During the week, we had some programs in Rivervale. So we were spread out. I'm deliberately trying to bring all those things together So then there's crossover between the community outreach programs and the church ministries and the staffing and volunteers within the zoo.
So the actual building will be a multifunctional building. It won't be just a church. The room will be used during the week.
That's right.
The week.
That's right. Has to be. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So that's on the cards. What else is next?
A lot of reno work in the sanctuary, in the main.
I think what would be standard with this, carpet and painting and curtains and staging, nothing that none of us haven't done before. So that's okay.
How big is the area?
200 square meters,
Okay,
which is good for a church.
Yeah.
Good start.
So you'll fit about good 100, 120 people in there.
Yeah.
Great size. It's great because it's a good multifunctional room.
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't feel totally that it has to be used on Sunday. You can do many things during the week. Training, as you said, you can run classes, you can whatever. Yeah.
And we haven't, we haven't started Alpha program yet, but we'll bring some of our community programs into Alpha or Christianity Explored or something like that. Transition them through into that doorway into the church or into counselling services. People need them, or recovery groups, post-divorce, post-grief, those kinds of life crises things people go through.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff. What else is happening? We're currently working on a lot of that training stuff in the background. We're working on some new funding models, some new opportunities with government, things that we can do as a charity.
They're looking for organizations to step up at the moment, aren't they?
That's right.
They want to pass a lot of the works through charities.
Yeah, and we deliberately set up a separate charity to the church entity, so we can use the charity for government programs. It's quite deliberate.
And that's probably got a different board than to the church board as well, because you need the right people. Different dynamics.
I have 3 boards, my friend.
That's good.
It's never boring or always boring. Take your pick.
Yeah, well, you need them. You need them. Bucket list. What's
my
your bucket
goodness.
list?
I've built 12 houses now, my wife and I think there's something in the pioneering spirit even in that.
You build them and sell them, or you build them and
live in them, or build them and rent them out, or take your pick. There's something of that pioneer thing right there.
Yeah, you're a builder.
Yeah. Start with nothing and build. I think I'll build again. We'll probably build one more house for ourselves, and that'll be our forever home. And
now, when it comes to building, is it mainly because of the investment aspect of it, or the thrill of doing your own thing?
For her, it'd be the thrill. For me, it'd be
interior design.
Oh, she loves that bit.
Architecture.
The architecture's me.
Yeah.
Interior design is her.
Oh wow.
Yeah. We do well with that. There's one more house than us. There's a few more books in me.
You've written some?
I've chapters, articles along the way. There's a few books in there I want to write. So we'll get
your
to that
memoir,
some way.
maybe.
Perhaps. Yeah. I've been challenged to do a thesis for a PhD on the story of collective hope, and that'll be fun. So we'll see where that lands.
That's right. Scholarship on it as well, maybe.
Lord willing.
Possible.
Yeah, we'll see. We're not far down that track yet.
Yeah.
I'm getting pushed to do these things. It's no longer
it's
just
not
me.
It's not your bucket list.
There's a machine around me.
The bucket. So, but building a house, what gave you that passion?
Oh, good question. We've been in the house we're in for 10 years. So I think a house with no stairs would be good. My wife had knee surgery a month ago, so a house with no stairs might be key. A house with a back lawn for grandkids, I think, would be one of those things too.
So you live in the city or in a city at the moment?
We're in Bassendean actually.
But you had
2 stories, small lot.
Yeah.
By the river, so beautiful views.
Okay.
But no lawn, no grass. So we might flip that around and do things differently again.
Well, the prices have gone up, haven't they?
Oh,
the building prices. It's enormous to build in this.
I'm kind of waiting for the building prices to to pull back down a bit.
Forget it. It'll never happen. You've lived through a few cycles.
We will see.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a few things in the mix. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, we love building as well. I've built, I don't know. I haven't counted, but probably 80 to 100 homes.
Wow. There you go.
Not all for ourselves, mainly for clients. I don't even know how many I built for ourselves. in our developments, probably about 20.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I love it. Oh, we're building at the moment. We're building 2 at the moment. So
There's another story for once we finish recording.
we're always doing stuff. We're in that. We have a business in that space. We do double glazed aluminum windows and doors.
Right.
So we've actually now that we're talking about this, we've trademarked Passive Homes Australia as well. So we are on the verge of we're doing some work in that space in the passive homes. We even own the domain www.passive.homes,
Well
which
done.
is a worldwide domain. So we're very strong into branding and IP, intellectual property, and it's interesting.
Well
There's
done.
so many common things here.
Yeah, very, very good.
So yeah,
Lord willing, there's a few more 100 churches to be planted
yeah.
through us as a group. I'd love to
Are you equipping for church planting?
Yeah, we're still developing the model without a doubt. It's still a developing model at this stage, but there's something taking place at the core of who we are and has been for quite a while.
Well, you've got strong inheritance from mum and dad. You know,
Amen.
it's a powerful pioneering call. And that's why I think that's why you're building. That's why you're building buildings. That's why you're building, you know, companies, organizations, churches, colleges. You know, even though God has kept you settled for a while in this, but you're not really settled. It's always going, you know. So
that's right. Yeah.
You're establishing you're breaking new ground. And you're a starter.
There's stuff in Australia that I want to do still. We're planting, Lord willing, in New Zealand next year.
Wow.
We've planted in Fiji this year. I'd like to do some stuff in the Golden Triangle, sort of the Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Myanmar kind of space.
Beautiful.
We've got ministry partners up there we've done some training with. I've run a few courses with some friends of mine up there already, and we'll keep pushing forward again. So,
yeah, we've done Cambodia, Vietnam, India, you know, Nepal. New Zealand. I planted a church in New Zealand as well. So
well done.
It's still going. Thank God. Hopefully a bit longer.
Yeah.
Interesting. You know, beautiful journeys. I mean, this is amazing. It's amazing. How's your wife looking at all this?
My words to her are, "It's never boring, is it?" And she says, "No, it's not." Husband comes home and says, "I have an idea," and she just listens, doesn't pull a face.
No.
"What's your idea, sweetheart?"
Yeah.
I think this is the next thing we can do, and so it's never boring. It's interesting. I would have at one point thought that all the things taking place are somewhat externalized.
Yeah.
The partnerships, the agreements, the teams, the people around us, and they're all critical things. Systems, boards, they're all critical things, absolutely. But the more and more I've come along the journey, the more I've realized it's actually quite internalized. It's our walk with the Lord.
Yeah.
And he wants to do something, and he invites us into what he's doing.
Of course.
It's a spiritual reality. And then suddenly my role as leader is to bring the team into that spiritual reality. How's the Lord leading us together? What's he doing with us as a team? And that's a deeper road, a deeper level of faith than most of us are used to. But it's exciting. It's beautiful. It's intimate.
Well, you're actually doing the collective hope.
Yes.
You're bringing them in that hub on that journey. It's a journey where you're hiking together. It's as a huddle. It's, you know, we got to climb on this mountain and everyone's going to make it to the top and back down.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. No one's going to get lost. No one's turning back, basically, which is beautiful. It's amazing. Look, I'm going to pay some attention to your journey from now on because I think it's exciting and it rubs off, you know.
And of course, I've been watching you already because you're right here.
Yeah, we've stretched the limits a little bit here in the time that we've been here, and we've got a long way to go as well. But it's a beautiful journey. You know, I can't stand still. You know, it's exciting for us. But it's always nice to rub shoulders with people that are, you know, doing the same thing in a sense, or you know, they're ahead of us in some ways, and we're learning from them, and it just inspires you. You know, when you see others doing it, you think, oh, okay, I'm not the only one that's really,
Crazy.
crazy, crazy to the world. To me, I don't think this is crazy. I think this is normal. But to a lot of the people, they think you are a little bit crazy. And look, crazy, you have to be. I mean, you only get a shot of life. Why sleep it? It's like people when they say to me, Natanael, you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning. I said, yeah. They go, you must be mad. You lose so much sleep. I said, what do you think we will do in eternity? This life is made for excitement, By 8 o'clock, you missed half of your day, But I think, different people have different views on life. But as you said, the responsibility, when God touches you with that responsibility, you have that mantle on. You cannot ignore that, and you can't take it off, and there's no off season per se. There's just a rhythm of life. And, in your case, because you would have gone through that heart attack, it makes you manage that rhythm and steward it a lot better than most of us.
Well, you're forced to.
Yeah, whereas I think sometimes we go until we drop, basically. And then you hope that it's not the end. Thank you so much for coming and just sharing your heart and your story. I'm sure it blesses so many people out there. And
it's a pleasure.
I look forward to interviewing your dad as well, because I think there's so much wealth of wisdom.
You'll need 3 hours for that one.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got the time. He's a great storyteller.
He is.
And amazing. Well, friends, what a beautiful story. Chris' friend, if you're in Perth, make sure you connect with him as well, and touch base with Collective Hope, both in ministry, in the organization, and see how you can help out, and also in the church as well. And if this story inspires you, please share it on the channels that you're watching it, whether it's on YouTube or you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify, or Amazon Music, etc. Just share it, give us 5 stars, like it, and do whatever it takes so we can spread the good news. And we hope to see you soon. Again, every week here at Kingdom Stories from Down Under. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I am Natanael Costea.
Thank you for joining us on Kingdom Stories from Down Under. We'd love it if you would subscribe, rate, and share these stories with your wider community. And remember, every story is worth sharing, including yours.